The Velorian woman crashed through the medical tent's entrance at 347 hours, dragging half of her own shattered exoskeleton behind her. Sergeant Marcus Cole didn't even look up from his daughter's crayon drawing, a stick figure labeled Daddy holding a wrench the size of a tree. "Medics are 3 tents down," he said flatly. "They're dead." Her voice was surprisingly steady for someone whose left leg was bent at an angle that defied anatomy. Along with everyone else in forward base Gamma.I. That made him look up. She was tall, nearly 7 feet, with skin the color of deep ocean water and bioluminescent patterns that pulsed weakly along her neck. Velorian. One of humanity's newest allies in the Scrix war, though allies was generous. More like species who hated the Scrix slightly more than they distrusted humans. "Sit," Marcus ordered, already reaching for his field kit. "I don't take orders from sit or bleed out. Your choice." She sat. Marcus had been a combat medic before the promotion nobody wanted pushed him into field command. Before his wife died in the Proxima bombing. Before he'd shipped his 6-year-old daughter Emma to the relative safety of Luna Base, promising he'd be home soon, a word that had lost all meaning 18 months ago. He examined the leg. The bone, or whatever Velorians had instead of bone, had punctured through the blue-gray flesh in 2 places. 3rd-degree burns covered her calf, and something had taken a chunk out of her thigh that looked disturbingly like teeth marks. "Scrix ambush?" he asked, pulling out a scanner. "Scrix elite unit. They hit us at nightfall." She hissed as he probed the wound. "I'm Lieutenant Commander Vel'Shira of the Velorian 3rd Fleet. I need to contact. Comms are jammed across the sector. Have been for 6 hours." Marcus pulled out a bone-setting tool. "This is going to hurt. I am aware of pain, human." "I have endured." He set the bone without warning. She screamed, a sound that made the bioluminescent patterns along her body flare bright blue before dimming almost completely. "Why?" she gasped. "Did you not warn me?" Tensing makes it worse. He was already applying biofoam to the wound. "You military? I just told you my rank." "I heard your rank. I asked if you're military." Vel'Shira's silver eyes narrowed. "What is the difference? Military means you've seen real combat. Rank just means someone gave you a fancy title. You wrapped the leg with practiced efficiency. The way you dragged yourself in here, that was survival instinct, not training. So, I'm asking again." A long pause. Her glow patterns flickered. "I was an academic," she finally admitted. "Xenobiology. I was reassigned when the war began." "Reassigned to what?" "Liaison duties. Cultural exchange." Her laugh was bitter. "They said my understanding of human psychology made me uniquely qualified. What they meant was expendable." Marcus grunted. He understood expendable. "Forward base Gamma had 47 personnel," he said. "Survivors? None that I saw. I escaped through a drainage tunnel when the Scrix breached the eastern wall." Her voice dropped. "There was a human child at the base. A girl with yellow hair. I don't know if there are no children on forward base Gamma." Marcus's hand stilled. "That's a combat installation. Nevertheless, I saw her. She gave me a drawing." Vel'Shira reached into a pocket in her damaged uniform and pulled out a crumpled piece of paper. Marcus's blood turned to ice. It was a crayon drawing. A stick figure holding a wrench. The same drawing currently sitting on his cot. The same daughter he thought was safe on Luna Base. "Where?" His voice came out as a whisper. "Did you get this?" "The child gave it to me yesterday," she said. Vel'Shira paused, reading Marcus's expression. "Sergeant? You've gone pale." Marcus was already on his feet, grabbing his rifle, his kit, shoving ammunition into every pocket. "That child," he said, and his voice was steady only through sheer force of will, "is my daughter." They moved through the jungle at a pace that should have been impossible for someone with a freshly set leg. Vel'Shira didn't complain, though Marcus caught her bioluminescence flickering with each step, what he was beginning to recognize as a Velorian pain response. "Slower," he said, not looking back. "I'm fine. You're glowing like a distress beacon. Every Scrix in a 5-mile radius can see you. I cannot control it. It is autonomic." Marcus stopped, pulled a thermal blanket from his pack, and wrapped it around her shoulders. It wouldn't hide her completely, but it would dim the signal. "Why do you care?" Vel'Shira asked as they resumed walking. "Your daughter is at the base. I am merely—" "What is your expression?" "Dead weight. You saw her. You know where she was." "I told you. The Eastern Housing Unit, 2nd floor. I've given you the information. You could move faster without me." "Probably." "Then why?" "Because my daughter gave you that drawing." Marcus pushed through a wall of thick vegetation, Emma doesn't give her drawings to just anyone. Took her therapist 3 months to earn one. The woman she barely tolerates watching her got a scribble after 6 months. He glanced back. You got a masterpiece after 1 day. Why? Vel'Shira was quiet for a long moment. I was examining botanical samples near the housing units, she finally said. The child approached me. She was not afraid. Most human children fear Velorians. Emma's not most children. No. She asked me what my sparkles meant. I explained that they indicate emotional states. She asked if I was sad. I said I was merely away from home. The Velorian's voice softened. She said she understood. That she was also away from home, but it was okay because her daddy was coming soon. He could fix anything. Marcus's jaw tightened. She told me about the drawings she makes for you. Showed me several. When I mentioned that I found human art fascinating, she insisted I keep one. Vel'Shira paused. She made me promise to give it to you if I saw you first. She said you would find her either way, but the drawing would help. Marcus didn't trust himself to speak. They walked in silence for another hour before Vel'Shira suddenly grabbed his arm, her grip surprisingly strong. Stop. He froze. Rifle up. What? Scrix patrol? 17 meters northwest. Her patterns had gone completely dark, something he hadn't known Velorians could do. 4 soldiers. Standard reconnaissance formation. Marcus couldn't see anything. How do you... I can feel their bioelectric signatures. It's how we navigate in deep ocean on our homeworld. She was pressed close to him now, her voice barely a breath. They're moving east, if we stay still. They waited. Marcus was acutely aware of her proximity. The slight chill of her skin, the way her chest barely rose and fell with each controlled breath. She smelled like ozone and something faintly floral. They've passed, she whispered after an eternity. Marcus exhaled. That's useful. I should have warned you sooner. Before the attack on Gamma. I sensed them massing, but I thought... She stopped herself. You thought what? I thought it was paranoia. Velorians are taught not to trust our instincts around other species. Our senses evolved for our environment, not for humanoid threats. I second-guessed myself. Her glow patterns flickered weakly. My hesitation cost 47 lives. You didn't kill them. The Scrix did. The result is the same. Marcus turned to face her fully. In the dim jungle light, she looked young. Younger than he'd initially thought. Maybe the Velorian equivalent of mid-20s. You want to know the difference between a soldier and someone with a rank? He asked. You already made that distinction. A soldier blames themselves for things outside their control. Someone with a rank learns to stop. He started walking again. You're military now, Lieutenant Commander. Act like it. He heard her following, her limp slightly less pronounced than before. Marcus, she said, the first time she'd used his name. Yeah, your daughter also told me something else, about your wife. His stride faltered but didn't stop. She said her mother is with the stars now, but that's okay because you still talk to her sometimes, when you think Emma is asleep. Marcus said nothing. I lost my bond partner in the initial Scrix invasion, Vel'Shira continued quietly. We do not speak to our dead. Velorians believe the departed exist only in memory, not in any listening form. But I find myself envious of humans who believe otherwise, who find comfort in one-sided conversations. It's not comfort, Marcus said roughly. It's habit. Perhaps. He heard something like a smile in her voice, but Emma said you always seem less sad afterward. A child's observation is rarely wrong about such things. They walked until dawn began to lighten the horizon. Forward base Gamma was worse than Marcus had imagined. The Scrix hadn't just attacked. They dismantled. Bodies were arranged in patterns that suggested ritual, though no human xenologist had ever figured out what the rituals meant. Buildings had been methodically destroyed, their contents scattered in ways that seemed random, but probably weren't. And everywhere, that smell. The sweet rot stench of Scrix biochemistry mixed with human blood. Vel'Shira stood very still beside him, her patterns completely dark. The Eastern Housing Unit, she said finally. It's still standing. Marcus was already moving. The building had taken damage. One wall was partially collapsed, the windows blown out, but the structure was intact. Marcus took the stairs 3 at a time, Vel'Shira struggling to keep up on her injured leg. Emma, he called. Emma? 2nd floor. 3rd door on the left. A room decorated with drawings on every wall, stick figures and stars and what might have been Velorians with their glowing patterns. Empty. No. Marcus breathed. No, wait. Vel'Shira pushed past him, her patterns flickering erratically. I sense something. Bioelectric signature. Very faint, very small. She limped to the closet, wrenched it open. Nothing but clothes and shoes, and there. Vel'Shira dropped to her knees, ignoring the obvious pain, and reached behind a pile of discarded toys. Emma? Emma, it's the Sparkle Lady. The one you gave the drawing to. A small whimper from the darkness. Marcus couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Your daddy is here, Vel'Shira said softly. He came to find you, just like you said he would. A tiny face emerged from the shadows, blonde hair matted with dust, blue eyes wide with terror. A stuffed rabbit clutched to her chest. Daddy? Marcus fell to his knees. I'm here, baby. I'm here. Emma launched herself into his arms. She was crying, huge, body-shaking sobs that Marcus absorbed into his chest as he held her tighter than he'd ever held anything in his life. I knew you'd come, she hiccuped. I told Miss Sparkle. I told her you'd fix everything. How did you? Marcus couldn't finish the question. Couldn't ask how his daughter had ended up in a war zone when she was supposed to be safe on Luna Base. Later, Vel'Shira said quietly. We need to move. The Scrix always return to verify their work. She was right. Marcus lifted Emma onto his hip, grabbed his rifle. Can you walk? He asked Vel'Shira. I can. She took a step and nearly collapsed. Marcus caught her with his free arm. I've got you. You have a child. I've got you both. His voice left no room for argument. Emma, this is Vel'Shira. She's going to help us get out of here. I know who she is, Daddy. Emma reached out and touched Vel'Shira's face with one small hand. She's pretty when she glows. Are you hurting, Miss Sparkle? Your lights are all flickery. I am somewhat damaged, Vel'Shira admitted. That's okay. My daddy can fix anything. They made it to the ground floor before the Scrix found them. The creature came through the wall, literally through it, its segmented body tearing through concrete like paper. Marcus fired twice, but the shots only seemed to make it angry. Run! He shoved Emma toward Vel'Shira. Get her out. I cannot leave you. That's an order, Lieutenant Commander. The Scrix lunged. Marcus rolled, came up firing. Another hit, another screech of rage. The thing was fast, faster than any Scrix he'd fought before. Elite unit. Of course. It caught him across the chest with one scything limb. Marcus felt ribs crack. Felt blood fill his mouth. He went down hard. Daddy. The Scrix turned toward the scream, toward Emma, toward Vel'Shira, who was trying desperately to pull his daughter toward an exit. Something happened then. Something Marcus didn't fully understand. Vel'Shira's bioluminescent patterns, which had been dark or flickering weakly since he'd met her, suddenly blazed to life. Not blue this time, white. Brilliant, blinding white. The Scrix screamed. It wasn't a sound of rage. It was agony. The creature's sensory organs, those clusters of black eyes that lined its head, were rupturing, unable to process the light intensity. Vel'Shira collapsed against the wall, still glowing, still somehow maintaining whatever she was doing. Marcus, she gasped. The thorax. They have a weak point, behind the D. He saw it. A gap in the carapace, exposed by the creature's thrashing. One shot. Perfect placement. The Scrix dropped. Marcus crawled to where Vel'Shira had fallen. Her light was fading now, her patterns barely visible. What was that? He demanded. Bioluminescent overload, she whispered. Last resort. It burns out the neural pathways that control. She didn't finish the sentence. Didn't need to. How long until they regenerate? They don't. Her silver eyes met his. I will never glow again, but your daughter is safe. Emma had somehow gotten free of Vel'Shira's grip during the chaos. She was standing over them now, crying silently, her rabbit pressed to her mouth. Is Miss Sparkle going to die? She asked in a small voice. No, Marcus said firmly. He gathered Vel'Shira in his arms and stood, fighting through the pain in his ribs. Nobody's dying today. They traveled for 3 days. Marcus carried Vel'Shira most of the way, Emma alternating between walking beside him and riding on his back. His ribs screamed with every step. The Velorian drifted in and out of consciousness, her skin growing paler, the patterns that had once marked her body now just faint scarring. On the second day, Emma started talking to Vel'Shira. Just small things at first, pointing out interesting plants, describing her drawings, explaining why her stuffed rabbit was named Captain Carrots. By the third day, Vel'Shira was responding. Weakly, but responding. On Veloria, she murmured, we have creatures similar to your rabbits. We call them Sci-Fİ. They glow in the dark, like you glowed. Yes, like I used to glow. Emma was quiet for a moment. Then, I think you're still pretty without sparkles. Vel'Shira made a sound that might have been a laugh. Emma, she said, why did you give me that drawing when we first met? You didn't know me. You look sad. And lonely. Like Daddy did after Mommy went to the stars. Emma reached over from Marcus's back and touched Vel'Shira's hand. I thought maybe you needed someone to find you too. Marcus didn't trust himself to speak. They reached a human outpost on the afternoon of the third day. Marcus barely made it through the gates before his legs gave out. The combination of blood loss, broken ribs, and 3 days of carrying 2 people finally overwhelming his stubborn determination. When he woke, he was in a medical bay. Vel'Shira was in the bed beside him, connected to an array of monitors that the human doctors were clearly improvising around Velorian physiology. Emma was between them, sitting cross-legged on the floor, drawing. What are you making, baby? Marcus croaked. It's for Miss Sparkle. Emma held up the paper. See? It's her and you and me. And Captain Carrots? We're a family. Marcus looked at the drawing. 4 figures. 1 large, 1 medium, 1 small, 1 rabbit-shaped. Surrounded by stars. In the corner, Emma had written, Pebble Daddy fixed. People I fixed? He asked. No, Daddy. Emma rolled her eyes with the exasperation only a 6-year-old could manage. People. Daddy fixed. Marcus looked at Vel'Shira. She was awake now, watching them with those silver eyes. The patterns on her skin were gone forever, but something else was there instead. Something soft, something warm. Your daughter, Vel'Shira said quietly, has informed me that I am joining your family unit. She did she? Apparently this is non-negotiable. She has also assigned me the role of secondary Sparkle Guardian, whatever that means. It means, Emma said matter-of-factly, that when Daddy is fixing things you help me make drawings. And when you're tired, Daddy carries you. And when I'm scared, you both help. She looked between them with the devastating clarity of childhood. That's how families work. Marcus found himself laughing, really laughing, for the first time in longer than he could remember. She's quite persuasive, Vel'Shira observed. Gets it from her mother. I was going to say from you. The door opened, and a military administrator entered, looking harried. Sergeant Cole. I've been trying to figure out how to file this report for an hour. A Velorian lieutenant commander, a human NCO, and a child who was apparently smuggled to a combat zone by her grandmother because Luna Base was evacuating and the old woman panicked. We'll figure it out, Marcus interrupted. Later. But the paperwork. I said later. The administrator left, muttering about protocols. Vel'Shira was studying him. You realize this complicates everything. A human raising a child in a war zone, with a Velorian who cannot return to her people because they will view her sacrifice as contamination. Contamination? We prize our bioluminescence. It is how we communicate, how we bond, how we... She stopped. It is how we prove we are Velorian. Without it, I am nothing to them. You're not nothing. Marcus reached across the gap between their beds and took her hand. It was still cool, still slightly damp but alive. You saved my daughter's life. You gave up everything you were to do it. That's not nothing. That's everything. Vel'Shira's breath caught. I didn't have a choice, she whispered. When the Scrix turned toward her, You had a choice. You made it. He squeezed her hand. You chose us. Emma, apparently deciding the adults were taking too long, climbed onto Vel'Shira's bed and curled up against her side. You're warm now, the little girl observed. You used to be cold. I suppose I am. Vel'Shira's arm came up hesitantly, to rest around Emma's shoulders. I suppose many things are different now. That's okay, Emma yawned. Daddy says different isn't bad, just different. She was asleep within minutes. Marcus watched them, this impossible pair. This alien woman who had burned out her own biology to save a human child. This daughter who had somehow seen past species and fear and war to recognize someone who needed saving in a different way. For the record, he said quietly, I don't know how to be part of a family anymore. I forgot, somewhere along the way. I never learned, Vel'Shira replied, equally quiet. Velorians bond, but we do not. Family. Not like this. So we figure it out together. Yes. She looked at Emma, then at him, and something shifted in those silver eyes. Something that looked like hope. I believe we do. Outside the medical bay, the war continued. Somewhere, Scrix were massing for another attack. Somewhere, politicians were arguing about strategies and acceptable losses. Somewhere, the universe kept spinning in its vast, uncaring way. But in this small room, a broken soldier was learning to hope again. A burned-out alien was discovering she could still shine, even without light. And a 6-year-old girl slept peacefully, secure in the knowledge that her daddy could fix anything. Some things, after all, weren't about fixing. They were about finding. The end.